Hello, it's Lauren here from Waking with Wellness, and it is Monday the 19th of December, just under a week until Christmas. Come round so fast. And what I wanted to talk today is just a quick blog about dealing with difficult relationships, difficult conversations around Christmas, because for many of us, this is a time of year when it can be quite challenging. We feel like we should all be really happy and joyful, but actually for some of us, it can bring up all sorts of difficult things, especially if we're perhaps around family members who we don't spend much time with, maybe people who you rarely see, and maybe you even don't like that much, and you're forced to be together in this room, which can be intense. And one of the things I want you to really look out for over Christmas, and more generally in life, but this is a good time of year to really get familiar and get curious, is the question, what things tend to most trigger you? Maybe there are certain people, maybe there are particular types of questions or criticisms that tend to really press your buttons. Now, most of us are carrying around some form of the story, I'm not good enough. In some way, it might be a more generic I'm not good enough story. It might kind of disguise itself in other ways. Maybe that I'm not good enough is just really specific to your appearance. Or maybe it's about, not being able to cook the best dinner or whatever. Just noticing what are the kind of conversations that tend to trigger a disproportionate reaction within you. So, as an example, yesterday we were chatting with my partner and we had a friend round, and I was showing him some of these amazing cards. I went to this workshop last week with these rose alchemy cards, and they're beautiful. And my partner asked me, just a very non-accusing, open question, like, oh, how much were those cards? And I found that I took on this role that I would so often see in my family and in my mum when I was growing up, of defensiveness around being asked how much something was. And I kind of paused, and he was like, why are you hesitating? And then I was kind of thinking, well, I feel like I'm being attacked that you're asking me, and I was getting defensive. And I was like, oh, they were £30, which isn't even a lot of money. And it was really interesting to see this, because then when I kind of put that back to him, he was like, well, I'm just asking you because I was thinking, that would be really cool to make some cards, and how much do these kind of things sell for? Whereas I took that question of, you think that I'm spending too much money on myself, say. And that story is not coming from him. His question was, very just from his own interest of, not trying to attack me at all, but I was seeing that through a lens of old patterns of things I saw very much in my childhood, of whenever a woman was questioned about how much something was, it was coming from this real defensive place of, you're spending too much money, and then my mum getting really defensive around this. And I could see, actually, I'm taking this on. And, I'm not judging myself for spending this money, but all of a sudden this disproportionate reaction is coming through. So it could be something like that. Maybe you have a core wound, this I'm not good enough story might come through in a relationship where your partner just says a couple of things, maybe a couple of comments of, it would be really great if you put a bit more seasoning on the potatoes. These are really, I know these are silly examples, but they are true, right? These little things. And you then just get really annoyed of you're criticizing me all the time. I can't even do the potatoes. And you find you've just been triggered in this huge reaction. And so in these moments, we might just think of them as these mundane things in our life, but actually one of the things we often talk about in yoga is your life is your curriculum. And really, rather than just thinking, this is when I'm spiritual, when I'm in my yoga room and or I'm meditating, just to think, well, my whole life is my curriculum, and every opportunity in my life is an opportunity for me to develop my spirituality and develop my self-awareness, so that we have the capacity to be able to experience the full range of emotions, not try and get rid of them, but not to react in such a way. So the first thing to do is to notice what things tend to trigger you, and then to notice with a sense of curiosity, and it might be that you can do this in the moment, or it might be that you can only do this, once the event's passed and you're kind of reflecting on it, maybe in your journal, maybe a bit later on, is to ask, well, what was being triggered there? What was the story that was playing out? Why was that so painful? Maybe if it's something you've already done a bit of work with, maybe if you've had some therapy, or you just have that own understanding, where did this come from? It might be, well, I know this old story, this I'm not good enough story, maybe it came from your childhood, maybe even has been passed down through the family line of, my mother had this, and actually her mother had this. And sometimes, it's not just our upbringing, it's further back than that. So notice the story. Maybe notice, where has this come from? Okay, I can see this. So this is like a pattern that, is playing out in my life. Number 3, notice, what is the emotion that this is triggering within? So really just bringing awareness within and noticing within your body, is there a sensation here? Where does this emotion sit? So really giving it space, not trying to get rid of it, but with that curiosity, breathing into that space and just connecting with the feeling. And then number 4 is offering some compassion. So the more you kind of see, this has triggered me, rather than going into blaming someone else of, you're so critical, I'm not good enough for you, you're really mean, that, or blaming yourself of, why can't I just stop being overreactive? Why am I so emotional or whatever? To move away from blame and offer self-compassion. And this might come from just placing a hand over your heart and just offering yourself a moment of, wow, that really struck a painful emotion within me. Whether, I might have acted a bit disproportionately, and I might not be that proud of how I reacted, but wow, that really touched a sore spot there. So we offer that compassion within. And then we have the ability over time, when we notice we're being triggered, to not react so quickly. And this is really the whole point of our yoga and mindfulness practice, that we develop the capacity to really see that subtle awareness of, this is coming up, and can I just take a breath? And can I just sit with this feeling? And the more we are familiar with our own story, our own triggers, the quicker this becomes. So sometimes it is in that moment, and again, other times it's afterwards. So this is just what I wanted to offer you today, just while you're enjoying Christmas, or however Christmas is for you, because actually for some people it's not a great time of year. Just to notice what triggers you, notice other people that trigger you, and use it as an opportunity to grow. Use it as an opportunity to really develop this deep self-awareness. Because inevitably, the only way we can change the world, the only way we can change our relationships is through looking within, is through owning our own stuff, so that we move away from blame and judgment, and we look within more compassionately and start to shift our own inner dialogue and our own inner belief system, so that then radiates out back into the world, and we are more mindful and more patient in our relationships with other people. So wishing you all a good week up to Christmas, and a lovely Christmas for those that I won't see, and hope to connect with you more in the new year. So have a lovely day, and I will speak to you soon. Bye.